Good morning, everybody, and welcome. This is another parent presentation from the curriculum department, and this is a really fun one to do. This presentation is advice for parents on what to do over the summer, because our experience in all the years from no matter how old your student is, your child is, parents always want to know, what can I do in the summer? So the curriculum team is here to teach you some ideas to bridge to summer learning from the end of the school year. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Annie Tucci.
Welcome everybody to our Bridge to Summer Learning Parent Workshop, joined here by Jeff Corbishley and Linda Johnson. The purpose of our workshop is to share ideas and resources on how to support students and families in keeping that learning active all summer long. So during our live broadcast, you will see that there is a link in the comment section on our YouTube channel for you to submit questions to us. We will have the question submission form open all the way through next week to collect and respond questions if you're not watching live, and we will be in touch. So this workshop has 3 parts to it. First, we'll talk a bit about how practice matters and what that means for our growing readers and mathematicians. Second, we will share a link to a curated list of resources that parents can refer to for K-12. And then lastly, we'll answer any questions that you might have. So first, let's talk a little bit about how practice matters and what that means. So getting right to the heart of it, if you want to get better at something, you need to engage in that activity again and again. And in the summer, we encourage all of our students to continue to practice and enjoy reading, writing, engaging in mathematical thinking as often as possible. Summer is also a wonderful time for creativity, interest, exploring new ideas, and getting to do learning at a leisurely pace. So this means that having some practice routines to bridge between that end of the school year and before starting a new one is a great way to organize your child to practice those skills. So practicing skills can happen in all sorts of ways, through exploring new interests, engaging in reading for pleasure, journaling, playing math games. There are many creative and fun ways to keep learning active in those summer months. And later in the workshop, we will share about some of the community and state resources available to engage with. But first, Linda will be sharing about practice routines related to reading, and Jeff will share about practice routines related to mathematics. So Linda, please take it away.
Great, thank you, Annie, and good morning to everyone. Welcome once again. I'm Linda Johnson, the Director of Elementary Education, and I'm here to talk a little bit about ways that you can keep your reader engaged during the summer months. So yes, summer is arriving at last, and it's a time to keep kids discovering their interests, their current interests, maybe discovering some new interests, which might lead to discovering some new books to read. And as Annie mentioned, reading for pleasure. That's really what we want to emphasize this morning, is that we encourage you to keep reading alive as part of your family, as part of your routines for pleasure. So I am going to talk a little bit about ways to keep your reader engaged during those summer months, because we know, research tells us, that children, regardless of the age, who read regularly throughout the summer months will continue to make gains in their reading. So first, let's think about some of the structures or routines that you could put in place or possibly continue to put in place at home. So when we talk about reading structures, we are thinking about the where your child will do his or her best reading. And we also think about the when. When is an optimal time to put reading into your routines? Some students read better, have more energy in the morning compared to the evening or afternoon, and then it could also work vice versa. So we encourage you to pick a time and a place that works well for your child in regards to the schedules that everyone's living on a day-to-day life, and really thinking about when your reader is most attentive. Another important part about establishing routines is thinking about the materials that are available to your reader. And we want those materials to be of interest, highly engaging. And as Annie just mentioned, interest does come from choice. And when students have a choice in what they can read, it does make a difference in terms of how they're reading, what they're reading, and possibly how long they're reading. So, we do encourage you to learn and continue to learn about your child's interest and what he or she might like to read. And we do encourage reading every day, as it's an important part of establishing those routines. And we think that's important to think about their choices and consider their interests. Next, I'm going to talk a little bit about read-alouds and how you might include read-alouds in your routines this summer. So reading aloud with your student from a variety of genres, a variety of types of books, is another way to squeeze reading into our busy lives. And it really could be reading aloud from picture books, chapter books, nonfiction books, really anything, magazines, even cookbooks. And again, regardless of a student's age or grade level, reading aloud is a partnership for families that offers many opportunities for rich discussions, language development. It's an opportunity to ask questions, make notices, and wonders. And as you would imagine, reading aloud is meant to be interactive. You want it to be noisy, rich discussions. So it is a time to encourage that question asking, encouraging conversations between your child and yourself, whoever is included in the read aloud. And the last way to keep your student reading, to keep your reader engaged this summer, is something that we call book clubs. And it is a fun, encouraging way to continue that reading if you consider forming a book club. What we do know about reading is that reading is social. So if you have an opportunity to form a book club, whether it's with siblings, possibly neighbors, friends, other family members, it's really a great way to nurture a love for reading and to encourage that social aspect. Book clubs are meant to invite groups of kids together, invite groups of readers together to discuss stories, again, from various genres. And it may give them an opportunity to discover new genres or new books that other folks in the book club are introducing to the group. Oftentimes parents will ask us, what is the right age for book clubs? Is my child too young? Is my child too old? Really, our answer to that is any age is the just right age, a good age to start a book club. And again, it's really those valuable skills that are being encouraged during the book club sessions, which include, but not limited to, reading for understanding, what we call reading comprehension. It's an opportunity to relate reading to your personal lives, again, participate in rich discussions, and then have an opportunity to listen to other people's perspectives or opinions. So these are just a handful of ways that we encourage reading to continue during the summer months. Again, keeping it light, keeping it fun, remembering choice and interest, along with ways to encourage students to engage in those various reading activities that I described. So now I will pass it over to my colleague, Jeff Corbishley, who's going to talk about ways to keep your mathematician engaged this summer.
Great, thank you, Linda. And good morning, everyone. So I'm here to talk about ways that you could keep your mathematicians engaged in a lot of similar ways as Linda. As we're encouraging our students to read throughout the summer, we want to make sure that they're thinking about their numbers. So finding ways to integrate math routines into your child's day really can be an incredibly powerful tool to keep students engaged in mathematics throughout the summer. So Linda has already talked about engaging ways to integrate reading into your summer routine. And studies have really shown that reading math-focused stories for children has a very powerful effect on mathematical thinking. So as you're thinking about what books to integrate into your reading routines, you may want to consider choosing a book that has a more math lens. So I would encourage, you could reach out to the Ridgefield Library, you could reach out to your school's library media specialist to get some suggestions of names of some books that would fit that bill. Another really good way is engaging in real low stress math routines. So we're not talking about a series of worksheets here, right? We're really talking about ways that students can think about numbers and how they can connect that to their everyday lives. So asking a student or your child to get into the routine of using mental math when they're calculating the cost of something is a really simple way to keep students thinking about numbers. And that really can range based on the age. So for our youngest learners, maybe it's when you go to the ice cream truck and you're trying to buy, let's say 2 or 3 different ice creams, right? You can have your child add those together. Or maybe when you go out and there's a discount on something, you can engage your thinker, your child, in how much do I have to take away? As you know, we get up into our grades and we get into more of our middle school grades. We learn about percents, and students are learning how to calculate things like tax and discounts from a percentage standpoint. And then even up into our high school level age, right, then we could start getting a little bit more complicated where there's multiple steps, multiple numbers, and budgeting might be a really good way for our high school students to engage in that mathematical thinking from a mental math standpoint. There's also ways to integrate math within a student's daily life. If, for example, if you're watching a baseball game or participating in a game and a stat comes up about a player, that's an opportunity to talk about what that number actually means. So as statistics comes up, whether it's in a newspaper article, whether it's in a news program, whether it's in sports, it's just that opportunity to engage in the idea of what do those numbers mean mathematically. Perhaps as another example, maybe your child has a high interest in baking, excuse me. So asking them to increase or decrease that recipe proportionally is really a fantastic way to keep mathematical fluency alive. And again, that can range based on the age. So maybe with our youngest learners, it's about doubling the recipe or halving the recipe, if you will, right? Multiplying by a half. But then as you get older, you might want to say, well, what if I need to multiply that by 2/3? How would that adjust all of my ingredients within baking? So again, you really just want to find the area of interest that your child really is excited about and see the mathematics within that area and integrate that as much as you can with those mental math skills. Finally, games and puzzles are really both engaging and incredibly helpful to increase mathematical thinking. So strategy games, which could include either a physical board game or a video game, are real easy ways to build logical deductive reasoning. So of course, you know, for our youngest children in district, we want to make sure that the games are age appropriate. So definitely do your homework before you choose a game. But they're certainly very good in terms of coming up with a plan and building that logical deductive step reasoning. Puzzles are another great way, right? For puzzles, they help with your spatial reasoning. They range in difficulty and they really work for any learner, right? There's a variety of puzzles. You could have smaller pieces, larger pieces, 20-piece puzzles, 1,000-piece puzzles. And what it really does is it builds that spatial reasoning to help the students as they engage in modeling in their math class in the future, as well as any geometry course that they would take in the future. There's also a lot of card games and board games that specifically ask students to keep score at various complexity levels. And some of these might actually be board games you already have in your home, like Yahtzee, Monopoly, Blockus, Psat. They're just a few of many games that allow us to work with numbers. So you'll notice that when you're trying to keep your student or your child engaged in mathematics throughout the summer, right, you really just want to find where does the math occur on an everyday level and integrate those mental math strategies and the mathematical thinking just as part of a daily routine. So at this point, I'm going to turn it back over to Annie, who's going to go a little bit further into a set of resources that has been put together for parents and students. Okay,
so we're excited to share this like one-page access to K-12 resources to support learning in the summer. You'll be able to find it on the RPS parent website. So we're actually going to venture over there now. So you'll notice here that we have all of our resources embedded, and we have uploaded our K-12 summer resource list. And this will be able to be updated as time goes on, because some of the summer challenges are not posted yet from the state. So I'm going to share with you a few of the general resources, and then Linda and Jeff will share an example from our elementary and also from the high school level. So summer break is almost here, and this is a curated list to support all of our students who are moving up into their next grade level. And then you'll see down here that we have 6-8 resources that connect them to their school library and our high school library as well. So you'll see here in the general resources that the Ridgefield Public Library has a reading program for the summer, and they also have a plethora of youth activities that are for families, that are for young adults, that are for elementary aged children. And then for this summer reading challenge for the Connecticut governors, this will come up in just a moment. There we go. So it's a challenge that all of our schools can engage with and all of our students can engage in. And there is a message to parents and students about how to get involved. So that is linked there along with our math challenge as well. So this one will get updated soon because the state they put them out a little bit closer to summertime because it is only the end of May right now. But this is an example from the 2021 Summer Math Challenge. And you'll see here that there is a message to parents and students of how to engage with this work. And then lastly, our RPS Library Learning Commons, K-12, they engage and with our Ridgefield Public Libraries Challenge with reading over the summer. And so Linda, I will have you share for third grade. Yes?
That's perfect. Thanks, Tammy.
Okay.
So I'll jump in and explain how the elementary resources are set up. So what we did was, again, curate, pull together resources that have been used in our district in the past or currently to keep learning alive at home. So you'll notice on the main sheet that there's resources according to the grade level that your student, your child just finished. So grade 1, for example, that represents a kindergartner who's wrapping up their school year this June. So they're entering first grade next year. So I'm going to jump to third grade, like Annie said, and this would be for second graders who are finishing up second grade right now. So they're entering third grade next year. And what we did was we put together a set of resources for reading, writing, and mathematics. And again, following that theme of keeping it light, keeping it fun, putting a lot of choice in there. So this slide, for example, slide 5 represents making reading fun and engaging. You'll notice there's a connection to what I spoke about earlier in terms of setting up those routines, those structures, finding reading time every day or most days. And then in addition to that and the read aloud and the idea of talking about forming a book club, we did add some calendars that you'll see there at the bottom. There's a link to a calendar. There's links to charts. There's links to games. Just as Jeff talked about games for math, we also have fun games for reading. And there's 3 different links there, calendar, charts, and games. So if you click those, it'll bring you to various resources to make reading fun and engaging at home. And now I'll just highlight one slide from the math. So as you progress through this slide deck, you are going to see other resources for reading, and then eventually we're going to jump to math. And actually, before I jump to the math, there are some suggested titles for reading at home. I know that's often a question that parents will ask is, well, you know, what do you suggest I read at home with my little one? What's of interest to my 4th grader, my 5th grader right now? So we did make sure that we included suggested titles for your readers. And I will, you know, put a shout out there for our Ridgefield Public Library. They do a really nice job with putting together reading lists for students according to their grade levels as well, grade levels and interests. So now I'll jump to that math piece. Sorry, Annie. Sure, let's do that. Slide 13. Choose from a math sandbox. So what we did in terms of the math slides was that, again, we put together a variety of resources where you and your child, your student can select, can choose activities that they might be interested in engaging with. So this example is what we call a math sandbox. And again, it's for rising third graders. And there's various topics, various domains in mathematics that your child has learned about in the second grade. So you'll see examples of ways to practice telling time, working with money, math facts. That's a big one. Our parents will often ask, how can we practice math facts at home? So there's some really great suggestions there on that sandbox, as well as you progress through the slide deck, there's a list of games, and there's some specific games around how to practice math facts at home. And then as you see, geometry and other topics. And then I am going to highlight, Annie, if you please jump further down to slide 19. I would like to talk a little bit about Dreambox. So as some of you may be familiar with, Dreambox is an online resource, an online subscription that our district pays for. And this subscription will be available to all of our mathematicians through the summer months. So this is a way that your child could jump onto Dreambox using their in-school login information and progress into a series of learning activities that are fit for a mathematician's just right level. And those topics, those skills concepts will range according to where your student is at with his or her learning right now. So again, there is a slide deck for every grade level, entering first grade all the way through entering sixth grade. We encourage you to take a look at those. Be thoughtful in your choices. Again, thinking about choice, interest, what your student might want to practice, what your student might want to engage in terms of reading and mathematics. And then we did add a link to some ideas for summer writing. I know that we did have a question come in terms of how to keep your writer engaged during the summer months. And from an elementary perspective, we did put some ideas, some suggestions under the reading slides. I think, Annie, if you jump all the way back to before the suggested titles, there we go. There are ways to encourage writing during the summer. And we do know that reading and writing make a nice connection to one another. A reader is a writer, a writer is a reader. So here are some ways that you can encourage writing at home this summer. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Linda. And I'm going to jump in a little bit on the other side, right? So Linda really talked about our elementary grades 1 through 5. And I just want to talk a little bit about our middle school levels and our high school level. So you'll see on the screen here that Annie is highlighting that, again, our library learning commons at both our middle schools and high school do have a curated list of suggested reading titles. So that's a really good resource to go to. But you'll also notice that there is a name that's called Khan Academy. So especially for our high schoolers, I want to encourage or really showcase what Khan Academy has to offer. So you'll first notice on the upper left where it says courses, Khan Academy has really exploded over the last couple of years in terms of what it can provide. So you'll see that it covers a variety of different subject areas. Math you'll see there's a lot on math and test prep, but there's also things in science, arts and humanity, economics, reading, even life skills. So there's a lot of videos. There's practice problems that are embedded within this program. However, I want to make something very clear to all families out there that there actually is a connection between our College Board, PSAT suite of assessments, and Khan Academy, right? The two companies have entered into a partnership. So all of our students were offered the opportunity this year to take the PSAT 8-9 in grade 9. So all the student has to do is link their Khan Academy account when they create an account with their College Board account. And as soon as they create that link, Khan Academy will actually create an individualized study plan based on how they did on the PSAT 8-9. So it really is a powerful way to review for standardized testing, right? We know that a lot of our high schoolers, especially in the summer as they get up toward junior year, the SAT might be in their mind. So this is an opportunity for a student to have individualized practice based on how they performed on an assessment. On a completely different note, outside of Khan Academy, I think we do also want to recognize that many of our high school students do engage in AP summer work over the summer, right? That might be a little bit more academic in nature. It might be either to help prepare them to enter an AP course. And in some courses, it might even be able to get a little bit of a head start on the content, especially for some of those courses where the content is very rich and deep and long. So I do want to just emphasize or just recognize that while, you know, we're doing summer learning across the district, we do also recognize that there are some of our students at the high school level that are also doing that practice, but more targeted toward a specific course. All right, so at this point, I'm going to pass it back to Annie.
So one thing to highlight and just to remember when we're thinking about all of these options that are available to keep that learning active in the summer is that summer is also a time for leisurely learning as well, and to explore those interests. So when you're looking at any of the resources available in Ridgefield and around Ridgefield, there are many, many options to get to explore that, what your child is interested in. And so we did have one question come in today about reading and writing programs available for middle school. So let me just get the question here. So are there any writing courses and math courses being offered for middle school students over the summer? So one thing that we do have that we are offering as part of our bridge program with our rising 8th graders being part of the high school intensives, there was a creative writing course that was available. And then as Linda mentioned too, about writing practice with our elementary grades, the same thing goes for our middle schoolers. What's really important is that when students are reading or they're exploring or they're experiencing summer, vacation, family members come to visit, right? Journaling, writing letters to family, having those kinds of contacts that way is a really nice way for them to engage in writing. Some of our students are young civic-minded students, and they can participate in connecting with local legislatures on things that they're interested in. I will always give a plug for civic participation. So there's just a lot of different ways to engage in the writing process without it being so formal in that sense. And when your child does engage in reading a book this summer, or you do a family book club, or there's a community book club that they engage in, they are writing as part of that process because they'll be taking some notes. They might do a summary or keeping track that way, because as Linda mentioned, readers are writers and writers are readers. So you will be able to engage that way. Jeff, do you want to add a little part in about, the math part of that question?
Absolutely. Yeah. So similar to Annie, we do have our summer bridge program. This is for rising 8th graders into 9th grade. And one of the courses that they're offering, or one of the intensives is what we call them, one of the intensives that we're offering is on mathematical problem solving. So there is an opportunity for those students to engage in that, as well as our other high school students. In addition, I just want to again point you back to that Khan Academy. So if you're looking for something that is a little bit more content specific, you can certainly use that as a leverage point. And I would just say every year I have some students that really take the summer and they just find something of interest to them. It doesn't have to be part of a course mathematically, but there's this idea they've thought of. Maybe they saw it in a science class and they want to dive in a little deeper. So that's always an option, is to use Khan Academy to dive into those areas of interest that might lie outside of a particular course. But yes, there are opportunities to engage in the math over the summer.
And I'll just add on.
And
yes. I'll add on another question that parents will often ask about summer learning. Oftentimes parents will ask, well, is this required? Does my reader, my mathematician need to turn something into the new teacher in the fall? And our answer to that is what we've shared this morning is not required. It's optional. It's ways to encourage that continued joy for reading, practice for reading, writing, math, whatever it might be. So no, it's not a requirement, and our teachers won't be looking to collect anything in the fall.
So thank you all so very much for your time this morning. So I will leave it to Corey to close.
All right.
Any last thoughts?
That was very informative. Thank you, team. Families, we will share the links, the link on the curriculum page off the RPS website with all of the different suggested super fun activities with you through Dr. De Silva's Friday communication. We'll do that over the next couple Fridays to make sure that you have easy access and you can find it. And we'll also share it with the school buildings so that they can send that information out. And as the team mentioned, a lot of the organizations that sponsor these super fun summer activities usually have a big launching party date middle to the end of June when school actually ends. So thank you for listening. Our link is open for questions. And as a team, we're always open and here to support families in any way that they need us over the summer and across the school year. So have a